should see the courageous parenting. So as always, connection, awareness, trust, and acceptance. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today is increasing your awareness on what works for you and what's important for you, and then finding ways of accepting that, not just in your children, but in yourself, and hopefully modeling this for your kids for a lot of the things that we wanted them, a lot of the skills that we wanted them to foster and have these life skills that we wanted them to have. So I just put these in there, but these are all the life skills, the characteristics and life skills that we wanted for our children. These are some of the challenges that we have with our teens, and you're going to get all of this again. And these are the challenges that our teens have with us. Yay. But triggers are like the emotional reaction that we have to life. It's what it's the stimulus that impacts our behavior, is the things that trigger us, and we all have them. I think I shared the other week that if I'm hungry, I'm not going to have a positive interaction. I'm going to go into something kind of triggered. I'm going to go in, with my nerve endings, real sensitive, and I'm going to react, right? Another trigger for me, oh my God, if my kids lie to me, even the stupidest little lie, I brushed my teeth, I didn't brush my teeth, those things trigger me as well. So I just want to run through a little bit. This is that awareness, right? If you can understand what your triggers are, then you know what to look for as they're coming at you. And then when you know that something's out there, you can accept it, and then you can do something about it. A coach once told me it's awareness, acceptance, and action. So today I want to bring for you some awareness on what your triggers are, both positive and negative, and then what how you can accept that in yourself, and then what actions you can take at some of the things that trigger us negatively. And, because nobody wants to be first, I'm just going to put the two down that I said. But if I'm hungry, then that's going to be a trigger for me. And if I'm kind of surrounded by lies, that's going to be a trigger for me. So what are some other triggers? Things that negatively impact your behavior, negatively impact you. So I added noise and distractions there. I'm going to leave this here because I'm just sensitive of our time. And I want to get on to some positive triggers. What are things that put you in your happy place? So we have these negative triggers. I don't know why the positive triggers got really small, but they're all there. Odds are we probably have more positive triggers than negative triggers. So let's see where we can find our happiness, and some of this is going to be repetitive, but these are the things that trigger us to be happy. When we're in this negative space, what do we do to go get happy? One of the things we talk about in positive discipline, and Christina, you may have heard this before, but we talk about like a positive timeout space, right? When your kid is kind of flipped his lid and you flipped your lid, and it's like, okay, let's go to our corners, right? And you go take some time to calm down, and I'm going to go take some time to calm down. And maybe that means I'm going to go out for a walk, or I'm going to take a shower or a bath, or I'm going to hop in the jacuzzi, or I'm going to write, or whatever that is, while your kid is doing whatever they need to do. But it is it's that space and what is going to going back to this, right? The brain and the hand, right? You're totally emotional. How do you calm yourself down to where you can get back into a logical state? Right? So space makes total sense. Yeah. It's amazing. I was working with a client, and he was feeling really down with his kids, with his wife, and pressures of work and everything. And I said, just put together a gratitude jar. Whenever you find yourself being happy about something, just write it on a piece of paper, stick it in the jar. You don't have to do anything more of that. And so he started doing that, and he's like, I filled up the jar really, really quick. I was like, that's awesome. Get a bigger jar, And he was like, okay. So he went from like he actually started with a glass. He's like, we're going to start with a glass, because he thought there's not a lot of gratitude in my life. Filled that up in a day. Then he went to like a jar, and then we went to a shoebox, and now he's got like a full-blown like box that he throws things in. And he started actually making it a game with the kids. So at night they pick one out and read what Daddy was happy about today, right? And so it became a very interactive thing with the family. And now his kids are little, but they're throwing things in, and it's become this gratitude family activity. And gratitude really helps you appreciate where you are.
Right.
So it's really kind of being appreciative of what we do have. How many of these things do you guys do when you're in, oh, no, where's the negative triggers? When these things are happening to you, how many of you actually take the time to go find your happiness? I'm going to try and send you guys, if I could find it, like a little story about this guy who every day when he comes home from work, he puts his worries on the tree. I think it might be called like the worry tree. And he puts his worries on his tree, and then he goes into his house and he's happy with his family. And the next morning he wakes up and he goes out and he goes to pick up whatever worries are still hanging on the tree. And between that time when he's pressed the pause button and said, okay, I'm just going to put everything on hold, the worries tend to go away. And so every morning when he comes back out to go pick up his worries, there's less worries out there. So I'll try and find that story and send it over to you. I think it's very pertinent, as the things that you think are so important right now, if you give it a little bit of time, they'll find their place, and their place is not very high up on the scale. Mm-hmm. So this was just shared with me, and I don't know if you guys have seen this. I shared this with Samantha, and she was like, I just saw this yesterday. But these are how to get like the happy chemicals going in your body. So the dopamine, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but the love hormone, right? The endorphins, the serotonin, oxytocin. Thank you. Some of these things are things that you guys have brought up. So understand that when you're doing these things, right? So when you're a foodie and you're eating that yummy, delicious anything, right? The dopamine is kicking in, right? So you're getting this reward chemical and you're feeling good about yourself. When we get enough sleep, or we all talked about like the bath and the jacuzzi, right? but like the dopamine is kicking in our body, and we're starting to feel good, and we got this reward chemical, and we're like, hey, we deserve this. We want more of this. That's great. When we're socializing, like calling up friends, even this group, right? We're socializing right now. That love language of the physical touch, the hug that we talked about. You guys brought up animals, whether it's the kitten or the dog, right? It's the calmness of the animal, right? And we can make them say whatever we want them to say. And one thing we didn't actually mention, but it's giving back to others, being of service, right? So finding ways to pay it forward when you can. And that releases that love hormone in us. And then the endorphins, we talked about like going out and walking and exercising and doing some things, laughing, listening to music, dancing, singing your heart out much louder than you should be at this age in your car all by yourself, and having kids drive by and laugh at you, whatever. I don't care. I'm being me. But that's the painkiller, right? We're feeling better when we're doing this. And then the serotonin, that mood stabilizer, instead of kind of going up and down and flipping our lid, the sun, we didn't even talk about like going to the beach. Because we had these like 85, 90 degree days, I was like, I'm going to change my schedule and go get a tan. So really feeling good, getting that like vitamin D into my system. And just, it was like, I do not like going to the beach with my kids. It's like, it's not a relaxing day, but oh my God, give me a book and my headphones and water and a chair, and I can stay at the beach for a couple of hours and be totally happy and leave there, even keeled, calm, nothing's going to stress me out, I'm in good. And then the nature walks. We talked about walking, we talked about listening to the birds and mindfulness, the meditation, the yoga, being peaceful, the gratitude. And we can get all of these without money, without, too much energy. These are things that you guys came up with a full list that all fit into these and can give us those happiness chemicals, right? Mm-hmm. So I strongly encourage you to do some of these often, especially when the pressures of the kids are coming down on us, right? Anything else you think you'd want to add to this? I'm looking at this and I hope you're seeing this as this like self-care options. Mm-hmm. And self-care is not selfish, and it's okay to, and it is totally okay to be selfish at times. But self-care is taking care of yourself so you can take care of others. Mm-hmm. Filling up your cup, putting your mask on the plane first. If you're not in a good state, your kids can't benefit. Like, you have nothing to give them. If you're exhausted, angry, frustrated, worried, negative all the time, that's the only thing you have to offer. So by taking the time to, find your happiness, get your sense of accomplishment, have the s'mores, do the games, find your distraction, you're kind of putting yourself back together. If you're feeling broken, you're kind of giving yourself the strength to move forward in whatever is going on in your life. And you're able to give to your children more. You're also able to model the behavior that you want your kids to have if they're feeling broken, if they're feeling overwhelmed, if they're feeling, like all of this has gotten too much for them. So I would challenge you to go back to your kids and ask them where they can find their happy place. Some of them may be the same, right? So that's your homework on the last day here, is to go and talk to your kids about where they can find their happy place. I guarantee you they're going to say their phones. Encourage them to come up with others, because that's not their only happy place, and let them see what works for them. Right? And you can share what works for you, and they may be like, oh yeah, that would probably work for me too. Or no, I would never do a gratitude or journaling or anything like that. But yeah, sometimes I think girls may say sometimes they have a good cry. Boys might be like, yeah, I'll watch the video where the guy gets hurt from, doing the skateboard trick or whatever, and that makes me laugh. Mm-hmm. Okay, whatever works for you. Right. But find out from your kids what works for them. Share what works for you. And again, that's building that connection. That's kind of increasing more communication with your kids going forward.
I'm just going to show you a tool. It's the positive discipline. We talk about a lot of activities. We talked about normal behavior. We talked about like a brain in the palm of your hand, talked about a lot of different things, routines. This is just going to take 1 second. But I wanted to show you a place where you can see all of these. And again, I'm not encouraging you to do anything you don't want to do as far as like buying this stuff or anything. But it's $2.99 if you were interested in getting this app. But I just wanted to show you what was on here. If you chose to, you can go buy the Positive Discipline books. Again, I'm not saying that you have to do any of that. But this Positive Discipline comes with like 52 cards. It's literally like a deck of cards. And these are all the tools, some of which we've talked about, right? So if you remember, we talked about like, they actually have the 4 R's of recovery, but the 3 R's, when you make a mistake with your kid, like I told you, I cursed out my child one day and stormed out of the house, right? So I recognized that I had made a mistake. I reconciled with him and resolved the situation. So this is just a whole lot of tool cards for like how do you want me to deal with you, right? When you're angry, what do you want me to do for you? Okay. Asking for help, teaching them how. Now it says children a lot, but some of these are really tweakable for teens as well. We had, I always like closet listening, right? Because you just sort of like sit with your child without really saying anything, and they usually open up. At first they're like, what do you want, mom? Right? And then after a while they're like, oh, I meant to tell you this happened at school. And you're like, excellent, this is totally working. We talked about, I think we talked a little bit about family meetings, but this has just tons and tons of things. And sometimes it's like, oh, I'm struggling, I'm gonna do this one, and it'll fit, right? Because there's a lot of ways of solving an issue. So I just wanted to share this with you. Again, I'm not promoting it for anything other than it might give you opportunities for support when you're struggling and not really sure how to deal with a particular situation. This might be helpful for you. So it's just an app. There it is. It's just positive discipline parenting tools. You can go onto like Amazon, whatever, or Apple store and whatever.